final postfix expression will be A, B, C, D star plus, and again multiplication operator E and then addition. So that was our conversion from an infix to the postfix expression. Now we will see how we will be evaluating a postfix expression. Postfix expression is also known as a reverse Polish notation that we studied in the previous classes. Polish notation is a prefix. A reverse Polish notation is known as a postfix, right? So evaluation of an expression. Now we converted already from an infix to a postfix expression. Now we are going to evaluate a postfix expression. So as in this algorithm, we will be again somewhat similar, we will feel, but it is easier than the conversion from infix to the postfix expression. In this algorithm, it is used to find the expression value that we will be solving an arithmetic expression, or we will be evaluating an arithmetic expression to get a final result, right? So this way, this algorithm is used to find the final value of an arithmetic expression which is written in postfix notation. So what is the first step? Add a right parenthesis at the end of the expression. We are going to add a right parenthesis at the end of the expression. So you remember in the first conversion from an infix to the postfix also, we were pushing one left parenthesis onto the stack and inserting or adding a right parenthesis at the end of the expression. Here we are just adding a right parenthesis at the end of the postfix notation. Understood? The postfix notation, the expression which is written using postfix notation, at the end of that we are just adding a right parenthesis. This is just to indicate the end, or the just to show that the expression has finished. Okay, so that is used as a sentinel. Sentinel means to indicate the termination of an expression. Now, what is the next step? Scan the expression from left to right. The same step what we had in the previous conversion. We will be scanning the expression from left to right. Then repeat the steps 3 and 4 for each element of the expression until the sentinel. Sentinel, we know that we have added a right parenthesis at the end of the expression. So until that, we will be scanning the expression for each element. If the scanned symbol is an operand, it is we are putting it onto the stack. If it is an operand, if we are encountering an operand, we are putting it onto the stack. Understood? If it is an operand, we are putting it onto the stack. If it is an operator, then what we have to do? Remove the top 2 elements. Remove we know that only operands are there. Listen here, only operands are there in the stack, right? When we are finding an operand, we are just putting it onto the stack or pushing it onto the stack. When we find an operator, what we have to do? Remove the 2 top elements. What will be in the stack? It will be operands only, right? We are removing the 2 top operands of the stack, where A is the top element and B is the next top element. So there are 2 operands we are just popping out from the stack when we encounter a operator. So the topmost operand is considered as A, and the second operand is considered as B. And in the next step, what we are going to do, we are going to evaluate B operator A. So what is the B means? B is the second top element and or the operand, and A is the top operand. So how we will be evaluating the expression? When we encounter an operator, whichever operator we have encountered, that will be used in order to evaluate the expression B operator A. So when you see the example, it will be clear. And after evaluation, we will be getting a result. That result will be again pushed back onto the stack. Okay. So this will be this is much easier than the other one. The result will be pushed back onto the stack. And then when we encounter, so this step will be repeated how many times? Until the sentinel or the right parenthesis is reached at the end of the expression. So when we repeat the steps 3 and 4 until the end of the expression, when we encounter a sentinel, we come out of this steps 3 and 4 and we move on to the step 5. Now in step 5, what we will do, the result which is equal to the topmost element of the stack will be printed. So we will see one example and come back to that algorithm. So here, this is our postfix expression 5, 6, 2 plus multiplication 12, 4 division minus, and now as according to the algorithm, we have inserted or we have added a right parenthesis at the end of the postfix expression. Understood? So again, we have to draw one table with 3 columns. We are indicating the scanned symbol in the second column and the operator stack as a third. Okay, so now we will be scanning. So our expression, postfix expression is ready to be scanned because we have inserted the sentinel right parenthesis at the end of the expression. Now we are scanning from left to right. The first symbol scanned will be 5. So here there is a difference or exactly the opposite what we are doing in the conversion from infix to the postfix. In conversion from infix to the postfix, when we encounter an operand, we are printing it, right? Printing it onto the display. And when we have an operator, we are pushing it onto the stack, right? In evaluation of the postfix expression, what we are doing is when we scan and when we find an operand, we will be pushing it onto the stack. There we were displaying onto the, printing it onto the display. Here we are pushing the operand onto the stack. So we cannot tell it as an operator stack. Here it is operand stack. Understood? So this will be the difference. So here when we scan an operand, we are pushing it onto the stack. Any doubt? If you have any doubt, you can ask. So here the first symbol scanned will be 5. The scanned symbol 5, we will be pushing it onto the stack. Now, the second symbol which we are going to scan is 6, right? So be careful, listen carefully. I will be giving you some example which the same questions what they have given in the question paper. Listen here. You remember one more thing, in the question paper also, they will not be giving spaces properly. Here, this is 12 and this is 4. They will be giving like 124. I was finding like I was trying out, and then if it is wrongly interpreted, then it will be answer will be wrong. Evaluation will not finish. So once when I did, I understood that it is 12. So the same questions from the question paper I have given. So in case like you are having exam, not for the exam sake, people should understand that like it is the only programming language which is now also it is repeatedly asked for the interviews and all. So you should if you have the base, easily you can learn other programming languages. Okay, so here when you are reading an operand, second operand which is scanned is 6. Again, operand means we will be pushing it onto the stack. So what all are there in the stack? 5 and 6. Now what is the next symbol scanned? It will be 2, right? So 2 means again it is an operand, so we will be pushing it onto the stack. Next we are going to scan an operator. So what we are supposed to do? What we are supposed to do? Mehboob, are you there? Mehboob, are you there? Where is your assignment? And I didn't see your assignment yesterday when I was checking. Huh? One more thing, like last time, I am not going to ask each one of you submit your assignment, submit your presentation. This marks daily is taken for your final marks calculation. So and the last time they were keeping on telling, yes, exams may not be there. You give a second chance. Now I will go and tell. Now Anthony brother is very strict. I will go and tell. Like I cannot beg you for submission of your assignment and all. If you are submitting, I told you this much time I gave because of exam also. Like before that only I had asked you to submit. Enough time you got for writing and completing. So whatever marks you scored, so that only I'm going to enter. So now if the meeting gets over, join after, like according to the timetable, you can join. Second hour is also I think it is no, it is DS, so you have to join after 5 minutes. Okay. So here, tell me what when you encounter an operator, what you are supposed to do. So I'll mark you absent. No, I didn't see anything in the chat box also. Mehboob, are you there? I didn't see her. So here, when you are encountering an addition symbol, what you are supposed to do? Addition operator, when we are encountering, we have to pop off the top two operands. What are the top two operands? Here we have 6 and 2. Abhishek MP? Abhishek. So, Abhishek, are you there? Again, I have to start the same thing, no? Yes, ma'am. The stack. So what all there in the stack now? 10 to 8. So you have to imagine stack, how it will be, like, you know, that it will be considered like this. We have to imagine at the bottom you have 10, and then you have 2, and then you have 8, right? So on top you have 8. Okay. So on top of the stack you will be having 8. And now, what is the next symbol scan? You will be scanning it. So here, no, you will be scanning a multiplier. I cannot remove this one. So here I am scanning a multiplication operator. So what you are supposed to do when you encounter an operator, we have to pop up the top two operands. So here on top you have 8. So that will be the top operand will be considered as 8. So you will be placing it in place of 8. Okay. So here it is 8, and then which is our operator? Operator is the multiplication operator, right? And then this second top operator operand is 2. So it is considered as B. So we will be writing it as 2 multiplied with the 8. So it is 16. So the result will be pushed again back onto the stack, right? So this 16 will be pushed back onto the stack. So what all we have in the stack now? 10 and 16. On top, we have 16. Understood? So the next operator which we are scanning is now addition operator, right? So the addition operator, when we encounter, sorry, this animation is now. Addition operator, when we encounter, what we are supposed to do? We will be again popping out the top two operands. Which are the top two operands now? 10 and 16. So don't see this now because I have wrongly. So the top operand is 16, which is considered as A, and the operator which we have is the addition operator, and the second operand will be 10. So it is taking the place of B. So 10 plus 16 will be 26, right? So this addition will perform, and then we will be the result will be again pushed back onto the stack, right? 26 will be pushed onto the stack. Now the next symbol scan will be 3. So what we are supposed to do? Again, it is an operand, means we will be pushing it onto the stack. The next symbol scan will be an operator, that is subtraction. So when we encounter an operator, we have to pop out the top two operands, which is 3 and 26. The top operator is 3, so that is taking the place of A, and the operator is minus, and the second top is 26. So 26 minus 3 will be what? So we will be performing 26 minus 3, and the result will be 23. The result again will be pushed onto the stack. Now what is the next symbol scan? The next symbol scan will be a right parenthesis, which indicate the end of the expression. When you encounter the right parenthesis, we have to pop the top operand of the stack, which will be nothing but the result of the evaluation of the expression. So now the result will be what? Result will be 23. So this like this you have to. This question is asked for the university theory question paper, and we have a program to implement this evaluation of a postfix expression using C. So it is given in the part B program. When we are executing the program, we will consider the examples or postfix expression only with the single digit. Okay, in order to make it easier, we will not be considering 2-digit numbers for the postfix expression, because we are scanning like symbol by symbol, right? So when we are scanning, we will be taking only one character read. So it will be like it will be taking only 1. So instead of 10, now it will be reading 1. So otherwise, if you are going to read by the space, then it will be a very lengthy program. So I have made it a small program with a very simple program. Okay, so we will execute it in the lab. So once you are thorough with this, we will be executing that program. I'll take it tomorrow. So now, take your notebook. All of you take your notebook. I hope you have written these two examples. Now, these are the questions which I saw it in the university question paper. Same questions I have copied. Write down all these 4 questions. The first one I think we have already done now. Anyway, you have to do all the 4, and I'll be checking it, both the conversion from infix to the postfix and evaluation of the postfix expression when you are submitting your DS notes. Okay, I had asked you to write each and every day's notes. Both, so the next September 1st, when you are coming, the completed notes. Listen here, completed DS observation and DS note has to be submitted. Okay, I'll be checking this one, especially this postfix evaluation and also the other one. So I have to see, I have to give one component for this also, for the completed notes. Otherwise, you will be you will not be taking it seriously. So this one you have to write in your notebook. I hope you are writing it properly. You see that the question paper also, they didn't give much space. They just give like we have to make out that it is separate digits, like separate number. Here it is 10 space 2, and then no comma separation will be there. So you have to understand that it is 10 to 8. Then multiplication, addition, 3 minus. Here it is 10, 6, 4. It's not 64. 10, 6, 4, multiplication, then 16. Understood? It is 16. Then space 4, subtraction, division, and then multiplication. Don't make mistake while copying the question. Here it is 17, 10, then addition, 3, then star, 9, and then division. Here it is 10, 3, 5, multiplication, 16, 4, minus, then division and addition. So if you are thorough in doing this, then only it will be easy for you to execute the program. So do all of you do this, and it's very interesting also. Nice to like evaluate an expression. Okay, so this you have to do it in your notebook. If you have any doubts, you should ask me. It will be easy for me to correct it from your notebook rather than checking from your WhatsApp. That's why I didn't correct those questions. So you have to execute and submit it on your first day. Okay. Now we are moving on to the next topic, which is nothing but our recursion. Recursion we have already studied in first semester. So this is given as a topic under stack. Why it is given under stack? Because recursion is making use of. It is coming under the application of stack. So till now we have seen 2 applications. One is the conversion from an infix to the postfix expression is done using stack. That is an application of stack. Again, the second application of stack is evaluation of a postfix expression. Evaluation of a postfix expression is also an application of stack. Now the third application is recursion. Recursion we have used in order to write the programs. You remember the factorial program, Fibonacci, and then GCD. All these algorithms which make use of the divide and conquer concept is making use of recursion, the recursive function call. So you know that we have executed the programs with and without using the recursive call. So these recursions, when you are writing in UCC program, these are making use of the stacks. So we will be pushing it onto the stack and popping out from the stack. So that's why it is given under stacks. Understood? So the recursive function calls are implementation or applications of stack. So when a function is defined in terms of itself, it is called a recursive function, or it is called a recursion. So the recursion function is a function which contains a call to itself. These are very easy topics. We have already completed, and all of you have executed factorial, Fibonacci, and GCD. I'm just taking because it is given as a topic under stack. So the recursive function must have one important thing is you have to write this point also. The recursive function must have at least one terminating condition, or if there should be some base criteria. That terminating condition that can be satisfied at least once. Then only we can put a end for the recursive call. Understood? Otherwise, what will happen? Many of you might have executed in lab. It will be going infinite, and then I asked you to, the screen will be full of numbers. You might have seen, right? That is infinite call, or you may be, you might have done something wrong, and then in some of the other programs which are not using recursion also, you might have entered in an infinite loop. So this recursion, when you are calling, you have to make sure that at least one terminating condition. Terminate means what? To stop, right? There should be one terminating condition which will be met. Understood? It should be a condition which will be met at least once. So when we are encountering that condition, we should stop this recursive call. So all these examples like factorial, Fibonacci, GCD, and all other algorithms which make use of this divide and conquer concept of algorithms, it is making use of recursion. What are the advantages? It reduces the complexity of the problem, and the program will be much smaller, right? So we need not repeat the same lines of code again and again. Already functions are used in order to reduce the length of the program. In that, if you are using recursive call, we can you can still reduce the length of the program, right? The logic also will be different. Rather than writing with the function calls, if you are making recursive calls, the function, the way you write the program also will be different, and it will be much smaller than the program which is written without using recursive call, and it can have any number of nesting levels. So we can see that when you are calling the factorial or the Fibonacci, we will be passing an argument, and the argument alone will be different, and there will be many levels of nesting inside, recursively calling. So this is it will be having a number of nesting levels. It reduces the complexity, it reduces the length of the program, and there will be a number of nesting levels. So the recursion, it is a well-defined recursive procedure. What all properties it should be having? It should have two properties, as I told in the first slide. There should be one base criteria. It has to be properly given, for which the procedure does not call itself. Recursion will be always calling the function itself, right? It will be calling itself. So there should be a base criteria, or there should be a terminating condition which will result, which will not be calling the function. So this will be the base criteria or the terminating condition. And each time the procedure does call itself, directly or indirectly, it must be moving close to this base criteria. We know that when we are calling this factorial or Fibonacci, n value will be reduced each time, and then we are moving close to the base criteria. So when I'll show you that example. So each time when we are recursively calling the function, it should be moving closer to the base criteria. Understood? Base criteria should be a condition in which the recursive call will not be made, and when we are writing the procedure, it should be in such a way that each time when you are calling the recursive function, it should be moving closer to the base criteria. Understood? So these examples we will see now. Factorial, we know we have executed the program also. What is factorial? Product of the positive integers from 1 to n. So it is inclusive of n. So n factorial, if you are telling, it is the product of all the positive numbers from 1 to n, right? So we will be writing 1 into 2 into, I just put a dot, the notes it was not, it is multiplication, right? Dot indicate multiplication. So 1 into 2 into 3 into, so we will be multiplying until n, right? If you are putting the value of n as 5, it will be 1 into 2 into 3 into 4 into 5. Got it? So it is generalized and given as n factorial is the product of all the numbers from 1 to n. If n is the last number, what will be the previous number? The previous number will be n minus 1. Suppose n is equal to 5. So here if it is 5 means the previous number will be 5 minus 1, that is 4. And again, the next previous number will be 5 minus 2, which is 3, right? So we will be taking n value, whatever be the n value, we will be multiplying or we'll find the product of all numbers from 1 to n. So here you have to understand this contradictory. Here 0 factorial, now when we evaluate, we will be getting it as 1. And so by definition, 0 factorial will be equal to 1. So there is a proof also how 0 factorial will be equal to 1. You know that in order to find the factorial of a number, it is given as n factorial is equal to n into n minus 1 factorial, right? So when you are substituting the value of n, suppose we are taking 1 factorial, what will be 1 factorial? 1 into, what is n value here? N minus 1, right? So here it is 1 minus 1. 1 minus 1 will be 0, right? So it will be n into 0 factorial. Again, it will become n into 0 means what? N into 0 will be 0. So on left hand side, we have written 1 factorial and right hand side, we have written 0 factorial. So that means like we have evaluated the value of 1 factorial as 0 and the reverse from right hand side to left hand side, if you see, we will be seeing that 0 factorial will be equal to 1, right? So by definition, we have to see that 0 factorial is equal to 1. Got it? So this is the way now we have to give the proof for that, but you need not give the proof and all. We are just showing that the factorial of a number, when we are calling it recursively, it is nothing but factorial is nothing but the product of the numbers from 1 to that particular number. So for it is true for all the positive integers, and we are giving when we are doing it is recursively, and factorial is given as n into n minus 1 factorial. So the definition of n factorial is recursive, and we are referring it as a call to n minus 1. So this we have already executed in our previous lab programs. So this in this example, if for the execution of the recursive call, we are giving a base criteria. If n is equal to 0, then n factorial is equal to 1. And if n is greater than 0, then n factorial is nothing but n into n minus 1. This program, you remember, right? We have executed. So here in this recursive call, which is the recursive call? Here we are calling the function factorial as a recursive function, and we are calling it from the main. So we are first asking the user to enter a positive number. We will be able to find the factorial only for the positive numbers. When I gave you the program, I didn't give positive integer because your seniors, when I gave it as positive integer, they were giving plus. Instead of just giving 5, they gave plus 5. So I removed that positive integer because they are thinking that we should give a sign for the positive integer. So I removed that. Enter a number only I gave for you people. That the aim was just to make you enter only positive integers. If you are entering negative numbers, no, it will not work. That's why we are finding the factorial only for the positive integers. So we are entering a number. Suppose I entered n as 5. What will happen? Fact equal to factorial of 5. Instead of n, we are passing the number 5, right? Factorial of 5. So what will happen if I am calling factorial of 5? It will be, this is the function call, right? So we have defined a factorial function over here, right? We have defined the factorial function. Here, we have declared the factorial function above name, and we have called the factorial function over here. And this, when we are calling it, it will be, the program control will be jumping to this line where the factorial is being defined. So in this definition of factorial, we have given that it is expecting an integer, right, as an argument. Here we have passed 5 as the actual argument. So it will be assigning the value 5 to this formal argument. And then inside this function, it will be checking whether n is not equal to 0. So what is the base condition over here? We are checking whether n is not equal to 0. If it is equal, it will move to the else part and it will be returning 1. This will be the base criteria. So here, as we have passed 5, what will happen now? as we have passed 5, it will be checking whether 5 is not equal to 0. If 5 is not equal to 0, it will be returning 5 into factorial of n minus 1. So what will be returned now? 5 into factorial of 5 minus 1. 5 minus 1 is 4. So again, we are calling the factorial function. You know, wherever we are writing factorial, it refers to the function factorial. And now in as argument, we are passing n minus 1. The current value of n is 5. So it will be 5 minus 1 will be 4. We will be making a function called, a recursive function called the factorial, where n value is 4. Right? Again, we will be getting inside this the factorial function. We will be checking whether 4 is not equal to, current value of n is 4. Right? Because we have made a recursive call. I know many of you may not be listening, but I have to complete my portions. Otherwise, we can go with the other classes, no, wherever no, some colleges are there who will not complete portions. So I don't mind. I'm completing my portions. If you are listening, it will be well and good. Okay, so here 4 factorial, and 4 is we are checking whether 4 is not equal to 0. You know that n value is 4 now. 4 is not equal to 0. Then what you will be returning? Return 4 into factorial of 4 minus 1. The current value of n is 4. So it will be calling 4 minus 1, which is nothing but 3. So then now what we are passing, when we are calling the factorial function recursively, we will be passing the value of 3. Got it? So we are passing the value of 3. Again, it will move to this function now definition, where we will be passing the argument or assigning the value of the formal argument as 3. Right? Again, it will come inside this function. It will be checking whether 3 is not equal to 0. You know that current value of n is 3. It is not equal to 0. Again, it will be calling 3 into 2 minus 3 minus 1. Again, it is 2. So this it will be passing 2. Again, it will be checking whether 2 is not equal to 0. Then it will be doing this return of 2 into 2 factorial of 2 minus 1. You know that 2 minus 1 is 1. Again, it will be calling the factorial. N value will be 1. It is checking whether n is not equal to 0. It is not equal to 0. It will be returning 1 into 1 minus 1. Now, it will be making the last factorial call, where factorial of 0. We are calling a factorial of 0, where n value is 0. We will be checking if n value is not equal to 0. You know that n value is 0 now. It will move towards the else part and it will return 1. So it will execute this base criteria in order to stop this recursive function call only once, and it should be there, right? At least once and it should be there in order to make a recursive function call. So this last call will be returning 1, and that determines the end of the recursive function call. So this is why we are telling that this will be the base criteria. They may ask you one question: what will be the base criteria, and what how many in each time, as I told in the second point, we are moving towards the base criteria. Initially, n value was 5, then it was 4, then it was 3, then it was 2, then it was 1, and then we moved to 0. So when it is 0, the base criteria is met, and it will be exiting from the recursive function call. Okay. So this way, the factorial we will be executing. As you know that when you are calling a recursive function, we are not getting the value or evaluated result then and then, right? When I am calling factorial 5, I'm calling factorial, I'm getting a return of 5 into factorial of 4. You know that the answer for factorial of 5, I'll be getting only if I'm solving factorial of 4. 5 is already there, but I have to substitute what is factorial of 4. So when I want to get the value of factorial of 4, again I should get the value of 4 into factorial of 3. Understood? So we know that I can multiply 4 into, then if I get the value of factorial of 3, I can substitute here and get the value, right? But again, to get the value of factorial of 3, I am calling the recursive function, which is 3 into factorial of 2. Again, if I get the value of factorial of 2, I can multiply it with 3 and give back the answer to the above call. So this is again not happening. So we are calling factorial of 2. So in this, it is 2 into factorial of 1. So again, you know that factorial of 1, if I'm getting, I can substitute here. Factorial of 1, I am getting the answer as 1, right? So when I'm getting the 1, what I will do, I'll be multiplying, or I will be substituting in the previous expression. I'll be substituting in the previous expression. That is, here instead of factorial of 1, I'll be substituting it as 1, right? So it will be 2 into 1, which is nothing but 2. Now I got the value of factorial of 2. So this value I am going to substitute over here. So this will be 3 into 2, which is when I'm substituting instead of factorial of 2, if I'm replacing it with 2, I'll get 3 into 2. That value will be 6. So again, I'll backtrack and get the value, give the value of 6 instead of factorial of 3. I'll substitute in this expression where it is 4 into 6. You will be getting the answer as 24. And now this value of 24 again will be substituted here in 5 into factorial of 24. That is, we will be, instead of factorial of 24, we will be replacing it with 24. It is 5 into 24, it is 120. Got it? And now the value of 120, which is nothing but the result of factorial of 5, will be returned, or it will be printed as a result onto the display, or it will be returned back to the main. So this way, we are making a recursive call in first, like factorial of 5, we'll be calling factorial of 4, then it will be calling 3, factorial of 2, factorial of 1. And then when you get the result, so this, all these calls has to be stored. So where we are finding the implement or application of stack, all these calls, which is not yet solved, we are storing it in the stack. Okay, so once you get the result of the last base criteria, we will backtrack and give the values of the previous call into this call, and likewise, we will backtrack and we will be popping out each of these incomplete expressions until the final value is substituted. Got it? So this is where we are using the stack. So we will be first storing all these calls, and then when you get the answer for the final criteria or the base criteria, we will backtrack and then we will pop out each of these expression evaluated until the last expression, which is 5 into factorial of 4, where we will be substituting factorial of 4 as 24, and the final result will be popped up. So this will be our factorial using recursive function call. In the next class, I will be taking Fibonacci. So Fibonacci also we had completed, but only thing is we are making it as an implementation of recursive call. So this, all of you gave attendance in the chat box, right? Now only 60 are there. So I'm just randomly seeing who are not there. Johnson is not there. Gautam Muniraj is not there. And again, Vinci Joseph. Somebody has logged in as Vinci Joseph. Who is it? You have to rename and give attendance. I don't know.